Good morning. My name is Bishop Gregg, G-R-E-G-G, middle initial L, last name spelled G-R-E-E-R. As president of Freedom First International, an organization that has stood on the front lines to fight against economic, social, and political oppression or systems of oppression nationally and in America, but around the world, we are simply standing to say that after very close, deliberate, and sincere conversations, we are issuing a clarion call to men and women of color to directly stand up and oppose the President of the United States of America. I'm going to say that again. We are issuing a clarion call to evangelicals, those men and women of faith around the world and in this country, around the world and in this country, to oppose the presidency. Why? Because we believe that Donald Trump's racist views have been made more explicit towards people of color, and his actions towards people of color need no interpretation. But the issue that we are addressing is that over the course of the last decade, his brand of racism as a head of state, not only a head of state, but a global leader, is growing more and more dangerous as the days go on. We believe that his rhetoric and his racist views shape his special brand of American politics. Where are we at in history? Recently, Jamestown, Virginia, a memorial remembrance was set aside by people in the community and around the country to mark 400 years of slavery. Jamestown, Virginia, for those who know, for the record, was the first place where the American slaves landed, on the banks of Jamestown, Virginia. The European slaves who came to America and helped build America, helped fight for America, built the temples, built the buildings, built the greatest country in America, but a tragic history filled with tragedy, oppression. Little known is the legacy of those people who died and gave their lives to build this country. We watched as the President of the United States addressed the community and discussed the historical significance of Jamestown, something that we have no problem with or had no problem with. But we simply say that our mind was made up at that point because we believe that the President of the United States, due to his actions, due to his rhetoric again, is an ill-suited choice to commemorate a monumental period in American history. We believe, to say further, that this man's main achievement has been to activate and expand on these bigotries rather than be the leader and a global leader for democracy. He acts in the opposite. Many Americans have said, not just us, that he tears away the fabric of racism, rips it apart, and challenges an already threatened democracy. We say we agree with those many Americans, and we say you're right. Many Americans will say that he pits Americans against each other and encourages white supremacy by color, by religion, not just because of his own personal views, but because he simply wants to detract from a racist agenda. We say, with those many Americans, we stand with them and believe you are, in truth and spirit, you're right, you are correct. I must say that for many years I've tried to be as apolitical and as someone who is a man of faith a national civil rights activist, I have not only not aligned with those political forces, but I have openly advocated for people of color, which has been our primary mission, to continue being in the gap and being the voice for those who have been oppressed. Our main goal, I want to be clear about this, our main goal is not, I'm going to say that again, our main goal is not going after bigots. We are interested in stopping people who are using criminal actions to threaten and intimidate entire communities. Yes, I'm going to say that again. We are interested in stopping people who are using criminal actions to threaten and intimidate entire communities. These are the things that we believe the President of the United States is inherently guilty of. Those detractors who would say, "Where's your proof?" Well, we have very specific actions for our clarion call to ask evangelicals to stand with us. Influencing police brutality by asking police to stand up and brutalize suspects. Very much against his oath of office and the bond of leadership that this presidency should represent. Police brutality, an issue that has plagued who? People of color in our communities. Many have lost their lives because of police brutality. Tamir Rice. You see it time in Elton Sterling. You see it time and time again. You see it throughout the communities. And we can continue talking about these cases. John Crawford, we can continue talking about these cases. Why would any president want to heighten, encourage police brutality? And yes, it happened. The president tells police officers not to be too nice to suspects in 2017 in a meeting in Suffolk County, New York, when discussing his administration's efforts. How many police heard that? How many police took that call to heart? They weren't too nice to people they arrested. How many people lost their lives because of those words? These are the reasons why we are saying that evangelicals must stand up and be accountable to the communities for putting this president in office. These are the reasons why it is very necessary that we be the voice for the community. We can go on. Let's talk about other cases. Let's talk about in 2009 when Donald Trump issued a thinly veiled threat of violence against his opponent, saying that members of the police, military, and bikers gangs play it tough if you need to. And if you reach a certain point, play it tough. And that means that if you are pushed to a certain point, play it tough, meaning that take off the gloves. Anything that you do is fine. I'll back you. You're fine if you reach a certain point. Well, that point was heard very clearly by the President of the United States. It was heard. He said it, but it was also in a tweet that was later deleted as news began to trickle about the New Zealand murderer who went into a worshiping mosque of worshiping Muslims. 49 Muslims lay dead that Friday. The murderer was very clear that he heard the president's call. President Donald Trump, that is. We're simply standing here to say that we need evangelicals to stand up. It is time for your voices to be heard. And this presidency is irreprehensible. History will not only remember you, but it will remember your silence. The words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I can also say that the words of Dr. King also said that for me and a growing number of others, it is important that this clarion call, we would ask all evangelicals, members of faith, and those who will surround these communities, who work and identify themselves as evangelicals in our movement. I would ask that you simply continue to advocate through three ways: on the ground, negotiation, and through social media and national media. Also by direct protest. We're simply asking you to be a voice in the days ahead because your voice can make a difference. We have to look back to history and remember, after Dr. King met with the officials of Birmingham, King concluded that he needed to take action by leading public demonstrations. His rhetoric, his decision was not decided lightly. Neither has been ours. He never hesitated to advocate for the communities in all of his actions. Neither should we. And we must remember one important factor in the days ahead. As Dr. King so eloquently stated, one has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. I simply say to evangelicals who stand with me and take this call, we have a moral responsibility to notate our footprint in this moment in history, to stand up and disobey the unjust laws that are permeated by this president, his administration, and those who want to use white supremacy in its twisted narrative to advance personal goals, to oppress those in not only this community, but around the world. And we must not stop in our efforts to stand up and bring justice to all of the people of the world. Bring justice to this nation and bring justice to the ghetto. Keep your head to the sky, evangelicals, and your eyes on the prize, because every day that you breathe gives you another reason to try. We need you in the days ahead. Stand with us as we fight for freedom, as we fight for honor, and as we fight for God. God bless you.